Welcome to UAPB Currents. I'm your host, Shelly Roby Ingram, and today we are joined by Mrs. LaKisha Johnson, who is an instructor in the Department of Gerontology here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Welcome to UAPB Currents.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to find all about gerontology in the Department of Behavioral and Social Sciences and what you guys do here on the campus. But before we do that, let's find out about LaKisha M. Johnson.
Who I am.
Who are you?
I am LaKisha M. Johnson. I'm an instructor in gerontology at UAPB. I've been here, this is year 5 for me. This August makes my 5th year. I'll give you a little bit of my background. I have a bachelor's in sociology from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. My master's is in gerontology from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. And then finishing my PhD in gerontology at the University of North Texas. I am ABD. So right now working on dissertation, really excited about that. Little personal information, I'm married, I have 5 boys.
Wow.
20, 18, 16, 8, and 3. So things are never quiet in my house. We are always busy, always working hard. Everybody plays a sport or an instrument or something. So I have multiple roles. Okay. My husband was also born with sickle cell disease. So in 2004, we started a nonprofit organization, Sickle Cell Support Services.
Okay.
So we provide supportive services to sickle cell patients throughout the state of Arkansas. Oh, I love UAPB. It was funny when I thought about doing this, or when you sent the email link out, I was like, okay, here's an opportunity to talk about gerontology. We have the only undergraduate program in gerontology in the state of Arkansas.
Okay.
So that is specific to us. No one else has that program. So we're able to offer something to individuals that are interested in the aging population, which kind of drew me down here to UAPB.
Okay, that was my next question. What brought you here to the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff?
I want to say it was weird, but or divine appointment, or however you want to say it. I actually was running a program at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, a program called Mid-South Prevention Institute, and my boss didn't want to attend a meeting down here.
Okay.
And said, hey, can you go to this meeting for me? I have something else on my schedule. Came down here, attended the meeting, and met the late Dr. Clifton Orr. He was in the meeting, and we just talked. He wanted to know more about me and what I was doing and who I was, and I gave him my card and my information. At that time, W. Burrell was an instructor of gerontology and had been for years, and transitioned from there into the dean of students.
Right.
Well, they had this opening. I didn't know. Dr. Orr called. He said, hey, yeah, you know, how are you? I'm fine. You got something? I need to ask you something. Can you adjunct and teach some classes? And I said, yeah, I can, depending on if I can fit them in my work schedule.
Right.
Can I change the classes around? And he said, yeah, we'll make it work. Right now, we don't have an instructor of gerontology. And this was July. And classes were beginning in August.
Okay.
So I said, okay, this sounds good. I hung up the phone. Then I called him back. I said, I need to ask you something. Is this a full-time teaching position? Because I have been looking for a full-time teaching position. And he said, yep, this is a full-time teaching position. Are you interested in that? Oh, yes, sir. I think I sent him my materials probably in the next 24 hours. He's like, get your materials, send them in. Dr. Tay, who is chair of our department, was out of the country at the time. So we were kind of waiting on him to come back and interview. And it just kind of moved from me there, and I was here.
Right.
Transitioned in about 4 weeks, which was difficult, but was happy to do it. Really ecstatic about an opportunity to teach at a historically Black college and give back. I didn't understand it first. I went to UALR, undergrad and grad. So this environment at UAPB was a little bit different for me. But one of my colleagues came in and he said, if you ever wanted to be needed or in an environment where you were needed, this is the environment for you. And I really let that soak in. And it really kind of ministered to me to say, you know what, this is the environment for me. So I'm kind of stuck. And I love it.
Yeah.
And it's a drive because I live in Little Rock, but it's worth the drive because of the students that I've met and been able to impact. So it's kind of how I got here, and I'm glad I'm here. And I love my department, Social and Behavior Sciences. Best department on campus. Dr. Tate makes my process easy. My colleagues are easy to get along with and work So it's just been a great transition here. And I knew I wanted to do academics. I kind of played around with teaching, tried to sub first, tried elementary school, but the kids pat and tap on you, and that wasn't for me. And then I tried junior high and high school. And I'm like, no, I need a little bit more mature crowd. I need something different. I have this passion to teaching me. How do I make this work?
Right.
Really never planned on going to grad school. Did my bachelor's in sociology, and then one of my mentors said, what are you doing next? I said, I don't know. Gonna go get a job and work. He's like, I want you to look at the master's in gerontology program. And there it was, and that's what happened.
Okay. Now, so that it wasn't necessarily in the plans to go pursue a master's in gerontology, but once you got into that field, what is it that has kept you in that?
It's good. Let me say it wasn't in the plans, but it was in the plan. I have always been unusual. The women in my family live long. My great-grandmother had 15, 16 siblings, and I was always at their house. I got to grow up with my great-grandmother, who died at 90-something. So her siblings were 60-something and above, and I was always drawn to them. I never understood why. I was the only great niece that would come, spend nights, with all these older people and hang out. So I always now say it was kind of divinely set up. But once I got into the program, I just kind of knew this was the right fit. Our population is increasing. If you look at the statistics now, in 2000, we were at 40 million people in the United States that were 65 and older. Now we're anticipated to be at 55 at 2020. It's just increasing, 15.3%. The rates just kept increasing. And I just started thinking about, how do I fit my love for older people into what I'm doing? And once I got in the program, I knew it was right. If we're gonna have programs and things in place and students prepared to reach and teach this older population, then this is where I'm supposed to be. It's a very unique field. It's a new field. It's a part of the social sciences. It's a branch of the social science, but gerontology came later. So you're looking at something that was developed in the 70s. We had our first program here on the campus in the 80s. Dr. Kular was instrumental, who is not a gerontologist, but knew the impact and the importance of having gerontology on campus. So once I got in the program, I was just kind of stuck, just loved, the training, even the things I developed. I had a very good program, learned to evaluate programs, learned case management, and I love research. I'm a little bit of a nerd. So I fell in love with stats, and all my friends was like, who likes stats? But I fell in love with statistics, and I fell in love with research, and I did some additional training for like focus groups. And it just kind of just gravitated there, and I just kind of loved digesting what I was seeing. And then there's an advocate in me, and it allowed me to get the skills and the tools I needed to advocate for the older population, because if it wasn't for advocacy, we wouldn't see some of the things that we see in place now.
All right, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, then we're going to find out more about exactly what gerontology, the study of gerontology, entails, because as you said, it's a new thing to some people, and some people there are that don't realize that it's a field of study. So we'll find out a little bit more about it when we come back from break. We'll be right back on UAPB Currents.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks. Visit us at stoptextstoprex.org.
Welcome back to UAPB Currents. Again, we're joined by LaKisha M. Johnson, future PhD.
That's it.
Who is an instructor in the Department of Gerontology here at the university. And we had an opportunity for you to talk about your passion for this field before we went to break. And now tell us exactly what the field of study of gerontology is. What is this field that you fallen in love with?
Just the study of aging individuals. We focus on social gerontology here. We do have some medical components. But the study of getting older, gray in America, looking at the social implications of things that happen in society and how it affects you getting older.
And now, why is that important? Why is that something that we're studying? I know you spoke earlier about the growing population of older people, which is great because that means people are living longer.
Correct. And that's it. People are living longer. It's important for the fact of programs that are being developed, laws that are in place, how we impact individuals in the community. I'm teaching a course right now, social policy, and one of my students in the course is a pastor. And he said, I'm really excited about this course because I pastor churches in small towns with a small but relatively older population. So I'm hoping this course is going to give me the information I need to make sure I'm in tune to my congregation, to make sure I'm putting the necessary things in place. And I'm sure at some point we've all encountered a nursing home, we've got grandparents. Right. That's the importance of gerontology. This population is busting the seams out. We have 5.5 million people, according to 2010, that are 85 years and older. Okay. And sometimes people don't understand older people. You know, in the beginning of my classes, I do a little myth busting kind of session, and I have students take quizzes.
Tell us some common myths then that you
older adults are not having sex.
Okay.
Which is not true.
What is okay, and what do you classify as this age group where people think that older people stop having?
65 and older.
Okay.
People believe that 65 and older, you know, they're not intimate like that in that type of setting, and it's a myth. They are. You should hear some of the interesting things my students come back and tell me about the nursing home.
Okay.
And once people get into nursing home settings, people forget that the intimacy, the contact, the things that they need are still in place. Older adults are still having sex. Some nursing homes have even had to put sex education in place for the older adults, because at that age, most of them are not childbearing, so they forget all the other things that they need to put in place to protect themselves. So those are some unique things. Older adults are grumpy, you know, like they came out with the movie Grumpy Old Men. Older adults are set in their ways, and that's not true. Right now, the Facebook population for older adults is growing massive. We have more older adults getting on Facebook to stay connected to, you know, Diane's adult daycare here. She has some innovative things going on with her older adults, just because we know that this population is consistent, it's growing, it's aging. And so how do we communicate, or how do you deal, or how do you set programs in place? Just like you do child development.
Right.
You need older adult development. If you don't have the skills and the information, then you develop a program based on your experiences or based on your beliefs. Right. And so the study of gerontology allows us to see why, what, when, where, you know, and how. Even if we look at the population of women, there are a lot more older women. Okay. Who are alive. Why? Probably medical reasons. Well, the other problem with that is these older women have less incomes. Why? Probably because of their domestic roles. Okay. You know, when they were younger. So when you're looking at that, how do we put these things in place? These baby boomers are going to change how we did things at first. Retirement communities were more medicalized. Right. You know, it was get admitted, this is what we do, this is what the doctor. This population, they're tech savvy. A lot of them have saved for retirement. They have their idea of what they want their community to look like. And they don't want that community to be, I'm walking into a medical nursing home. Right. They want plants, they want animals, they want connections, they want groups. And so gerontology helps to bring all this grasp of how we're graying, what we're looking like in society, and we could get into all the different theories and why we age, and the more active, like routine activity theory, the more active you are actively, the better you are as you get older. Okay. So some of the things we even talk about, or I talk to my students about, even their processes now. What are you doing now that'll affect your later? Right. You know, and preparing them to prepare your parents. How active are your parents now, so that when they get to 85, 86, 87, that they're aging with grace. The key thing in gerontology for me personally is that you teach a person to learn to sustain within their community. There are only so many nursing homes built. There's only so much care that's being built. And then the affordability of those programs also can become an issue. Right. Anywhere from $700 to $5,000 for an individual to be placed in a particular type of setting.
Right.
I think it's about 28% or 29% of older adults right now live alone. No children, no support system. So what are the things that we're looking at? How do we deal with those populations? How do we deal with rural populations?
Right.
Like Dermot and Alzheimer and those that may not have a center on aging right there for them? How do we put programming in place? How do we make sure they're fed? 29% of the older population is in poverty. So when we're looking at those impoverished numbers, how do we make sure these individuals are eating, cared for? Those are all kind of the things that we look for in gerontology. How do we encourage them to come back and get computer classes or become sustainable if they weren't? And those are kind of the things that we focus on and look at.
Okay, all right. Now, what are some of the courses that we teach here on campus that in the area of gerontology?
Well, let me say this first. We have two tracks. We have a practice track and we have an administrative track. About 2 years ago, Dr. Jerry Ingram and I, who's the coordinator for the gerontology program, kind of revised the program. We looked at the program and said, how do we make this program more applicable to what's going on in today's society? So we created the practice track and the administrative track. The practice track, it focuses on individuals who may want to be activity directors, or individuals who may want to be work in home health or work for the area agency. The administrative track contains an administrative component, and I'm really proud of that track because I developed a new course called The Business of Gerontology. And I teach them the business of gerontology, and they do an administrative, they have to do a budget, they are working on management components in there, they're working on mission statements, goals, directions, even a new direction, even if they wanted to open their own facility. So that's all in that Business of Gerontology course. We also have social policy, we have Intro to Gerontology, which I always advise anyone to take first. It's an overview of what we're doing, in gerontology, what's going on, what's new legislation, what are some of the theories that we have out there about individuals getting older. We have we have case management and assessment, where we teach them which case management has changed in the field, but we're really teaching them how to assess what type of needs this person or the individual may have. What other courses? Death and dying. Now, death and dying is the
Now, look, you sound like you're gonna get into that one. So we're gonna save that one when we come back from the break. Okay.
All right.
We're gonna go to commercial, and when we come back, we're going to find out more information about what the gerontology department here at the university is doing, and more information about our growing aging population. And we'll be right back on UAPB Current.
Thank you.
Every child is curious.
George, look what I found.
Turn their curiosity into a lifelong love of learning. Create a curious reader.
This is super bedtime reading.
Share a book together today. Visit read.gov.
Welcome back to UAPB Currents, and again we're joined by Ms. LaKisha M. Johnson, who is instructor of the Gerontology Department. We're going to jump in and get into the subject of the course of death and dying and what that is.
The study of death, usually it's a thanatology type degree, but it's part of our program here at UAPB. It is probably my most popular course. It's usually always full every semester because I found out the human science department, social work, and a couple other, it's an elective course, but we really cover the concept of death, dying, grief, life, living, which is really important to understand with an aging population. I remember myself when my great-grandmother died, who was very influential in my life, and she was 91, and my grandfather, who died at 70, with Alzheimer's disease. The things that I even learned in the course helped me prepare for the inevitable. We all have to die, and so the things in the courses that we study and we process help us with the dying process. My students have to do a tombstone, their own tombstone, create their own their own tombstone for the semester. They have to create their own obituary for the semester. They also write their own living will. So it really pulls you into the process of understanding, here I am, eventually this is where I'll end up, or eventually this is where my loved ones will end up. So that's one of our most popular courses.
Okay, all right. Now, I know know that you all are an extremely flexible program. And so tell us about the flexibility of the gerontology program.
Well, I am an advocate for online learning. Gerontology students are not your typical students. Usually these are people already working in the gerontology field.
Okay.
May already have full-time jobs. And so we started talking and thinking, how do we create a program that invites the flexibility to meet the life and needs of these students who may be interested in working with older adults, but may not necessarily have the time. So every semester, we offer 50% of the courses online. This fall, we have 3 courses online, so students are able to take those courses online. We rotate the courses in and out, even for on-campus students.
Okay.
If we feel the draw or necessity, we'll put more classes on available at night. But we really try to focus on online learning. And these aren't just your typical, these aren't typical online, these are comprehensive online classes that build and develop the student to be stronger in the practice of gerontology. So we've been successful in that, and if we could push this degree to be online completely, we would. Also, a certificate in gerontology is something else that we're developing right now. We have students who minor in gerontology, students who are general studies students, because they chose to do the general studies degree, and then they complement it with a track in gerontology because they may be interested in a gerontology profession. And that's another thing about our program. Our program is so compatible with so many other degrees, nursing students, social work, different areas of life, even business. If someone had business but was interested in opening their own nursing home eventually one day, then this program is also compatible for that.
Okay. Now that moves us into what are some areas of work that you can go into with the gerontology?
It's so much. It's so much. Gerontology is so broad, and that's what people don't think about. It's so broad. You just got to have that
you
love.
Would automatically, most people are probably going to automatically think that you're going to go and work in a nursing home, and that's not it. You have the area on agencies. If you want to talk about big agencies that fall from the administrative on agency, there's government positions in gerontology for people who are interested in policies and pushing laws for individuals. There is that person who wants that direct service nursing home. There are places like adult daycares that are available for older individuals working with those older populations. But also, if you want to teach and research, I have a student now who's like, I think I've decided I want to teach. At first she was like, I'm going to open my own facility. And I'm like, well, you can do both. You can open your own facility and you can teach. Right.
So there's so many different things. It complements nursing well. The one thing that I always remind people, we are getting older, but it doesn't mean we're getting better. So as the population ages, we're still seeing more medical issues or more problems or higher rates of individuals with Alzheimer's disease or higher rates of individuals with Parkinson's disease. So then being a nurse with a gerontology degree gives you an edge to understand how to work with this this population right here. The AARP is a very big organization. Alzheimer's.org is a big organization. When we look at those organizations that prefer, individuals who may want to do fitness for older people. We've seen people develop programs that are specifically for an older population, and that degree helps them just to say, you know what, I understand this population. Because we do cover some medical components in our program. We do biology, we do healthcare of the older adult. So our students really learn the intricate systems of what's happening when you get older, like why more frequently urinating. So they're prepared to work in those areas or those programs that need advocating. We need people advocating. As this population continues to change, somebody's got to be fighting. We need more Gray Panthers. We need more AARPs. We need more people fighting for older rights.
Okay. And so I guess what I'm understanding is that our university teaching in a social aspect with gerontology is that you all are teaching our students in the community how to understand the aging population, how to understand who they are as people, and to realize that one day that will be us. And while people can talk about the greatest myth, I think is that you're going to be sitting at home watching TV, falling asleep. is that, you know, that's not the life I want to live when I hit 65 and older. And so it's something for us to think about of how we can make their lives better and, you know, be advocates, like you said, of the aging population.
Yeah, and constantly remembering social changes, things that happen. How do we put things in place and mechanisms in place to meet those needs for this population? We do it for kids all the time. We do it, you know, we have child development centers, we have tutoring, we have after school program. We forget sometimes that after 65 things transition again. Things may not move as quickly. We might not remember everything. I might not even have the social support. After women's liberation, women start having less children. So when women start having stop having less children, then the social support for that woman or that older adult changes when they get older. I have friends now who are married but have said they never want kids in life. Well, who takes care of them when they get older? You know, what type of things do we put in place in dealing with them when we get older? And how do we benefit our society as a whole? If we don't take care of the older population, then we'll find ourselves in a position with a problem. A very good example is in China. When China limited the amount of births that they could have, we do this thing in gerontology. We look at pyramids. Well, their pyramid is small down. So it's small, very small at the bottom, and then it's very big at the top. You know, their population pyramid. They don't have enough younger people to support their older population. So now they're trying to figure out, how do we help? Well, we can't shove everybody in a nursing home. So how do we create an environment to sustain? We've all got to get older. And as our population increases, that population increases. By 2020, we should see 66 million people 65 and older. That's a big part of our population.
Okay, so we're out of time, but tell everybody how they can get in contact with you so that if they're interested in the gerontology program, or they know someone who's interested, or they decided they want to send somebody over so they can learn more information and just take classes, you know, how can they get in contact with you guys?
You can reach me at 870-575-8176 or email me at johnsonlm@uapb.edu. And Jerry Ingram also is available, who is our gerontology program, and his email is ingramj@uapb.edu.
Thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us, and we really enjoyed you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we will see you next time on UAPB Currents.